Hello YouTube, Dave here again. The Starfinder RPG is one of my favorite modern role-playing games, and it's a system that I feel is a little bit underrepresented, myself included. Like, I'm very much guilty of this. I was really big into Starfinder for a while, but then I just had so many other things come my way that it's kind of fallen a bit by the wayside. But the Starfinder role-playing game is an awesome system. It's a great world to create adventures in or universe, I guess, to create adventures in. And I just think that it's definitely worth shedding some more light on. So what I want to do over the next few videos, create a little series that's meant to serve as sort of like an introductory guide to the various books that are out there, as well as things like accessories and at least some of the adventure paths. I can't go into detail on all of them because I am missing certain chapters of a handful of the adventure paths. But at the very least, I want to just kind of raise more awareness of the system because I think it's awesome. The Starfinder role-playing game takes place in the same universe as the Pathfinder role-playing game, but we're talking like centuries into the future, where technology has sort of, progressed to the point where you can now have ships that travel from planet to planet. One of the big defining features of the Starfinder role-playing game is an event known as the Gap, which took place about 300 years ago. At least based on the current start date of the official material for Starfinder. And the Gap was essentially an event where there's just this huge collective void of knowledge. There's no records, written or electronic, or even just memories from species that are lived long enough to have been alive during the pre-Gap era and may even have memories of pre-Gap, don't know what happened during the Gap itself. And it's something that's kind of this huge issue that some of these individuals kind of suffer from. Some might even be driven mad by the fact that they have clear memories of the pre-Gap and then just this void where the Gap was. And an event that took place during the Gap was that the planet of Galarian just disappeared completely from its orbit. The planet itself no longer exists, and in its place, rotate in its orbit with the same number of days in its orbit, the same number of hours in its day, is a space station, a high-tech space station known as Absalom Space Station. So that is what's replaced the world of Galarian, but you have the Pact Worlds itself, which is sort of the main default setting for most of the early Pathfinder or Starfinder, Starfinder products. And there's some really cool planets there. There's like Castrovel, which is the planet that was sort of more like a jungle planet or more of like a forest type of planet, which is the ancestral home of the elves. You have the planet of Eox, which is ruled by these undead creatures that aren't necessarily evil, but they're definitely pretty evil members of that species, I guess, whatever you want to call it, including a military that is officially disowned by the planet of Eox, known as the Corpse Fleet. Their starships are all look like they're made out of bones and stuff like that. Really cool stuff. Anyway, it's a fantastic role-playing game, and if you're interested in trying something that's a bit more, like fantasy mixed with science fiction, then this is an excellent RPG for you to try. So in this video, we're going to talk about the rules and rules expansions books. There's a few different categories that I have for some videos. They'll each be their own video in the series. The first one is going to be the rules and rules expansions. And then I'm going to do a video on just the Alien Archives on their own. And then I'll do a settings video, accessories, and then some of the adventures and adventure paths. So if you're looking to get into Starfinder for the first time, you're looking to learn the system for the first time, one of the things that I honestly recommend would be the beginner box. Now, I've done videos on this before in the past, but we'll take a quick look at what's inside here. And yeah, this is an excellent way to kind of dip your toes into the water for the Starfinder RPG because it's presented in more of like a Pathfinder or like D&D type of way. It's a simplified rule set that eliminates certain aspects of the rules, like there's a thing called stamina points and hit points, and stamina points are what you go through first. They're kind of like your ability to shrug off or recover from from blows or from injuries in the battlefield, and you get those back a lot easier than your hit points, which is essentially like that's damage represented as like getting through like your armor or an injury that you can't just like walk off kind of thing. So they do it's a more complex system. It's not the most complex system, but if you're just a beginner, it can be a lot to take in. So in the beginner box, they actually just have nothing but hit points, and they do explain that when you go to when you start using the actual core rules, then there's going to be some changes here. But it does come with a set of dice. It does come with bases for the various pawns, which are these sort of just two-dimensional cardboard stand-ups. And as you can see, I've actually run some stuff out of this, so I do have them kind of out already. There's also some game aid cards, so what you can do on your turn, as well as some of the the key conditions that you might experience there. So really great stuff there as well. And then we just got the Game Master rules, which is your introductory rule book here. Let's just take these pawns and just kind of put them out there like that. But this is your simplified rule book, which contains the adventure. Actually, this is the adventure, mainly the adventure, as well as information on designing adventures and how to continue some adventuring with the rules that are there. Then you've got the actual rule book itself, the Hero's Handbook, which does include some character creation information here, because you can actually make your own characters instead of just using the pre-generated characters that are also included. So you can pick up and play if you want with just the characters that are provided, or you can, see if I can get them here. There's a couple more condition cards, obviously. It does come with a double-sided map as well. One side is the adventure that is included in the starter set, and the other side is just a blank grid for you to do whatever you want with, which is also great to have. And then we've got our blank character sheets. Oh, sorry, these are ones that I photocopied. We have our blank sheets are in there somewhere, but you do have blank character sheets. These are not the actual character sheets that were used. I don't like doing that, so I photocopied them. There they are. So there's the blank ones, so you're free to create your own characters with. And then there are just the pre-made characters that are based off of the iconic characters from the core rules. So you can just play as these right out of the gate if you wish. Or you can create your own characters using the species available as well as the classes that are available. The classes, again, are somewhat simplified and stripped down a little bit. So they are lacking some of the more, like, instead of having a lot of different options, because this is a beginner box, they just have essentially like one kind of build for the characters. Like the mechanic, for example, can either have a robotic companion, or they can have like a piece of gear that they've customized that has special abilities based off of what they've done to it. And the mechanic in the beginner box just has the specialized equipment. It does not have the robotic operating buddy or anything like that to go along with it. But the starter set is absolutely awesome, and it's a great way to get into the Starfinder RPG, and it gives you tons and tons of material for you to have just to run games with. The map is awesome. In fact, when I was running Starfinder, I would use the blank side of the double-sided map for most of the adventures that I was running. So really awesome way to get into it. A more streamlined and simplified version, so it's a little less intimidating for you to get into. But once you complete the starter set, it is time to move on to the core rules. So we do have the core rule book here, and this is a Paizo core RPG book. So this is going to be a combination of Player's Guide and Game Master's Guide combined into one. So you only have to buy the one book to be able to play and run the game, as opposed to having to buy a Player's Guide and then a separate Game Master's Guide. But this again has, there's your packed world system. But again, this has everything that you need to create your characters, to run the game, the rules, the basic rules for combat, as well as creating and combat involving starships or spaceships, whatever they're referred to as here. and all the like equipment, all the technological and magical sort of items that you might find along the way. Some information on the basic Starfinder setting, so a little Gazetteer style entry for the various packed worlds. And it even has information on converting elements of first edition Pathfinder into the Starfinder RPG, which is actually kind of cool, including a lot of the species from the Pathfinder rules, like gnomes, halflings, half-orcs, elves, dwarves. Their stats are found at the end of the book under the Pathfinder Legacy stuff. So this is, again, really, really cool. This is a 500-plus page core rulebook, so you are going to be getting your money's worth out of it. Speaking of money, I guess I should go over the prices here. This is a $59.99 or $60 US rulebook, but you are getting a, again, it's a combination of player's book and game master's guide. The beginner box, I am hoping it has a price on it. Some of them don't. So the beginner box is $39.99 US, which you get a lot of stuff. Like, it is definitely worth the money. But if you're looking to experiment, or you're looking to, like I said, sort of dip your toes into the Starfinder world, and you don't quite want to commit $60 to a new core rulebook, then you do have an alternative, because Starfinder does have a selection of the Pocket Edition books. So these are soft-covered versions of the hardcover rules, and they are scaled down, but they are a one-to-one reprint or reproduction, I guess, of the actual rulebook. So if something is on page 375 of the hardcover, it's going to be on page 375 of the Pocket Edition. Now, the print is going to be a little bit smaller, obviously, so you do have to be, that is an issue that, you might have to deal with. But I, for small writing can bother me, but I do find it pretty easy to read. Like, it doesn't hurt my eyes the way that I thought it would, or the way that, I was kind of worried that it would. But this is, again, just a reproduction of the full core rulebook, just scaled down. And when it comes to the Pocket Editions, they will always have the errata up to the time of their printing. So, like, this is one of the original core rulebooks from the first release of Starfinder. So this will actually have errata and corrections that this book doesn't have. And for somebody like me, that's great, because I am really bad at keeping track of errata. I just usually don't bother. It's not something that I typically think of. But that would be incorporated into these Pocket Editions. And the best part is, the core rulebook Pocket Edition, whoops, didn't mean to shake the camera there. The core rulebook Pocket Edition is only $19.99. So for $20 US, you are getting a 500-plus page, 516 page core rulebook. That's everything that you need to run and play this particular role-playing game, aside from monster stats, which will be in a separate video, for $20. Like, and this pairs really well with the beginner box. There's also Pocket Editions for the Alien Archive books. I don't have any of those, unfortunately. I do kind of want to catch up on the Pocket Edition Starfinder books and add them to my collection, because I love Pocket Editions. And I have most of them for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, my entire Pathfinder 1st Edition collection, aside from the Game Master screen and the beginner box, are also all of the all Pocket Editions. So they're a much more affordable alternative. They pair really well, again, with the starter set, and it's a more cost-effective way to test out this role-playing game. But let's just say that now we've gotten into Starfinder. We are committed to, expanding our Starfinder collection. We're looking to sort of add some more stuff to it. Here are some of the rules expansion books, where the main focus is adding like new rules elements, or clarifying rules elements, like new character classes being a large focus, or new character options, Starship options, things along those lines. That's going to be the focus of the rest of the books in this video. So the first one that we have, and this is one of the ones that I would honestly recommend getting relatively early on when you start getting into Starfinder, especially when your group starts getting more and more comfortable and they want to sort of broaden their options for what they can do. The Starfinder Character Operations Manual is just a fantastic book. It does include 3 new classes. So it has the Biohacker, the Vanguard, and the Witch Warper. The Biohacker is essentially a character that uses types of like enhancements to themselves or their allies, or things that like injections and things like that that can actually hinder their opponents. The Vanguard is kind of like a martial artist type of character, and the Witch Warper effectively just like bends the fabric of reality. It also gives you new options for all of the classes that were included in the core rulebook, as well as the main species that were included in that book as well. Not the Pathfinder Legacy ones, but like the Oski, the Shrian, those types of species there will have some new options for you, as well as like new feats, equipment, things along those lines, and more options for things like ship combat or ship rules and downtime activities. A really great book. This one is $39.99. We're not going to do like a comprehensive flip through, but we'll at least sort of give you a little bit of an idea of just some of the extra stuff that's in there. And like I said, we do have our brand new classes that are in this book. The biohacker, you can see they got like the little the gun there with the with like the needles on it for them and their serums, which is really great. But yeah, just a really awesome book and a great way to expand your options for your players, as well as like give them like different equipment, different feats, and some other things that they can add to everything. Like the power armor jockey seems kind of cool. Just some really cool feats included in here. So this is a great book to add to your collection after you've got the core rules sort of implemented there. So that's one that I would recommend. Another great one, and one that I got to spend a little bit more time with, because this was one of the issues that I kind of, when it came to Starfinder, was one of the things that I tended to shy away from a little bit, was the ship combat. So here we have the Starship Operations Manual. So this is also a $39.99 book, or $40 book here. But it does say that it includes new armaments for your weapons, alternative armor, ways for your PCs to pilot a squadron of ships or direct mass armadas as commanding officers, details for dozens of Starship manufacturers and different stats for their ship designs, and advice and tools for building Starship campaigns. Now, there is also an accessory for Starfinder that involves like ship combat. I don't know if I actually have that one. I'll have to look in my collection. So that might be something that I'm missing. But there are some things to help you aid you with ship combat here. But this is a great book, especially if you want to focus more heavily on that. And just the rules for like mass combat, or being like the commander of a squadron, stuff like that is really, really cool. If you want to get that deeply involved into like ship combat, it's definitely worth it. I think it's a really cool concept, and truthfully, it's one of the better ship combat systems that I've read. I don't have a ton of science fiction or science fantasy RPGs, but I will say overall, I do like the Starfinder approach more. It's the only one that I felt like I can at least run it, even if it's not my favorite part of the game. But this book does help by giving you lots of new options and lots of things that you can keep in mind when creating campaigns that revolve heavily around ship-to-ship combat. Then there is Galactic Magic. So again, these supplement books are all going to be $40 US, but Galactic Magic includes a brand new character, the Precog character. So this is a class that can effectively manipulate time, not the fabric of reality the way that the Witch Warper does, but they can manipulate time to sort of glimpse the future, gain like defensive or offensive bonuses, all kinds of things like that based off it, which is really, really cool. It includes rituals and over 100 new spells for classes like the Precog or the Technomancer or the Mystic. Technomancer being kind of like the equivalent of a wizard or mage class, the Mystic being more like a cleric type of class, and the Precog is kind of it's more like a diviner kind of thing. It's a little bit more specialized, but you get all kinds of new items and spells. You have like magic items, which comes in like the gear section. You have spells and just information on incorporating more elements of like magic into your campaign. So again, really, really cool book. Definitely worth adding to your collection. But I'm presenting this kind of in the order based on the themes. So if you're looking to get like just rules expansions books, things to add more options for your players or even for you as a game master to have available to you, I would recommend the player or the character operations manual first, the Starship operations manual second if you want to get more involved with ship combat, and then Galactic Magic would kind of be like the third one of those. Or if you do have a lot of characters that want to play spellcasters in your Starfinder game, then that would be a book to definitely pick up. And then the last two books that we're going to look at in today's video are going to be the equipment books, so equipment expansion books. Not necessarily rules expansion, although one of the books does have like some actual like new rules elements that it adds to it. But the first one here is just going to be Armory. And Armory is just a book filled to burst with just new equipment and stuff for you to have. Again, this is a $39.99 or $40 book. It has scores of new weapons, armor, wide range of new equipment, or equipment-themed player character options, including new class features for every class, which is actually kind of cool, and dozens of new pieces of technological, magic, and hybrid items. So in Starfinder, you have equipment that can be technological, which is just purely technology, mechanical, computerized types of devices. You have pure magic items, which are just, magically enchanted. And then you have hybrid items, which is a combination of the two. So you can actually have items that are constructed from like technological gear, equipment, computer components and stuff like that, but that functions using some form of magic to enhance it or to have it actually work. Really, really cool concept again, and you get all kinds of cool stuff in this book. And this is actually one of my favorite Starfinder books. This one that I would always bring with me when I was running my Starfinder games, just because it's always good to have more options, right? And this book is just full. As you can see, it is just absolutely full of new gear for you to be able to use in your game. So yeah, just an absolutely fantastic book. And this is one that if I were to do like a buyer's guide after the core rulebook, even before like the character operations manual, this is probably the first book that I would recommend getting that isn't like an Alien Archive, just to have like all the extra equipment added to your campaign. But yeah, this book is absolutely awesome. And then we have the Tech Revolution book. So that's going to round out this particular video. Again, $39.99. This includes a new player character class as well, the Nanocyte class, who basically uses nanobots. Because, you can't have science fiction or science fantasy without a little nanobot action. Sorry, words are strangely hard today. But yeah, you got to have some nanobots thrown in there at some point, like the Borg nanobots or whatever, I can't remember what they called them in Star Trek. But yeah, so you got a character class that's just dedicated to using these things to reshape them into various forms of gear or tools that they can utilize, or things that can sort of boost their, abilities in combat or boost their speeds. Just a really, really cool class. Again, there's just a lot of great stuff in the Starfinder RPG. I don't know what else to say. This book also includes mechs. So as you can see on the cover there, if you want to have some mech action in your Starfinder RPG, then this is going to be the book for you, because it has that. It also has new options for a lot of the character classes that have been previously presented, or all the character classes, I should say, that are previously presented. Lots of new stuff on vehicles, your more mundane vehicles. But yeah, then you get into a whole bunch of stuff on mechs. And I got to be honest, I haven't tried this yet. But man, this is something like, if you are big on like Mech Warrior Battletech, this isn't going to be like as involved as that, but if you want to incorporate elements of that into your games, you got like a giant mech fighting like a kaiju-sized monster. What more could you ask for when it comes to the Starfinder role-playing game? So there you go. That's sort of the first part of the introduction series, or intro to the Starfinder product catalog. So we do have, like I said, our core rules and our rules expansion in this particular video. So that was part one. Hopefully you found this video a little bit helpful. If you have any individual questions about specific books, that were presented in this video, please leave them in the comments section. And I know I haven't been very good at following up on comments the last little bit. I'm still dealing with my right arm bothering me. I don't know what I did, but I still have trouble like lifting it or moving it. And just the way that my laptop is currently set up in our living room, it's hard for me to actually get to the keyboard. But regardless, I will try to make more of a concerted effort to be more active in the comments section. So if you do have any questions, then feel free to check that out there. I've done flip-throughs and reviews that go a little bit more in detail for most of these books. I don't know if I actually did the Tech Revolution book yet or not. I think it might be one of those things where I recorded it and I wasn't happy with the way it turned out, so I deleted it before getting back to trying to redo it, and then just like a whole bunch of other stuff came up. So if I haven't done that one yet, I will be sure to do a more in-depth video on it in the future. But yeah, this is my introduction to the Starfinder role-playing game. I love this system. I just love the creativity and imagination that goes into the Starfinder role-playing game. Like, when it comes to more standard fantasy RPG, you do kind of have to work within some of like the expected tropes, and Pathfinder does a pretty good job of stepping outside of those on occasion. But the Starfinder RPG just seems like, all right, you guys can just go nuts with whatever ideas you can think of, and it's just such an awesome RPG. I don't know what else to say. But if you're looking for something a little bit different, but something that might be at the same time familiar with the D20 mechanics of like roll the D20, add a bonus, equal or exceed set number to to succeed or fail, then this is a great way to sort of get into like a more science fiction, science fantasy RPG. Definitely one of the better ones out there, and one that I cannot recommend enough. So that was part 1 of this series. So the next video will actually be a look at the Alien Archive. So there are 4 books that we're going to be taking a look at there. And yeah, looking forward to that one. So thank you all very much for watching. I really appreciate it. Hope this helped, especially if you're new to Starfinder, don't know much about it, or don't know kind of where to start. There will be a playlist attached to the end of this video as well. So if you want to click on that, you'll see the Starfinder videos that I've already made. I think I'm up to like 70 videos or something like that, just on Starfinder alone. So there's a lot to go sort of digest there. But anyway, thank you all so very, very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Until then, take care.